Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to the Kingdom Life Unfiltered podcast. I am super excited today. I have joining me the beautiful Tessa Crevier.
Yeah.
And Tessa is a homeschooled teen. She's 17. You won't even notice. She's like amazing. And she's the youngest of 12 and a twin. And I got the chance to meet her at this family camp and just was so blown away at just her wisdom beyond her years and just her heart for the Lord. And so I just wanted to have her come on here and share a little bit more. Her dad has traveled the globe for over 35 years sharing the gospel, spinning basketballs, and riding unicycles. And so she just has such a unique, upbringing and experience. And so I just wanted her to share a little bit more about herself and her family and just like what she wants to do and just where God is leading her. And so, Tessa, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to be here.
And I would love for you to share a little bit of like who you guys are, like tell us a little bit about your family, about like what your experience has been. How did your dad start spinning basketballs and riding unicycles around the world? Fill us in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as my dad puts it, when my dad was 11, or no, when my dad was 7, um, his his older brothers went off to college, and one of the guys that lived in their dorm knew how to spin a basketball. And so the brothers came back from college and they taught his older sister, Tanya, how to spin a basketball. And so my dad wanted to learn how to spin a basketball as well and thought it was so cool. So he kept learning new tricks and just kept taking it to the next level and the next. And so eventually my dad got saved and really wanted to share the word with the people, and wanted to use the basketball and the unicycles as a really good like platform to get people's attention, um, to be able to share God's word. So he started doing that, and with my mom, and then kid after kid, after 12 kids, we were all able to join him and do that. And he was able to bring us a lot of the shows that we would do, oftentimes school assemblies and NBA games. So then we were in 2013, we had the privilege and the honor to perform on America's Got Talent, which was super cool and such a great experience. So yeah, and dad's still doing that, doing a lot of prison ministries and just trying to share God's word.
That's such a cool story. I just love how God has used that to just open the door for you guys to share his word around the world. That's incredible. All right.
Yeah.
So for those of that are just meeting you, can you tell us a little bit about what life looks like growing up in a family of 12?
Yes. So oftentimes I get a lot of questions like these, and sometimes it's a little bit harder to answer because I know no different. But I really do. Eventually, when you grow up, it's like you have 11 parents at first, but then you keep growing and you keep building those relationships, and you have like friends for life. And I've just become so close with each and every one of them, and it has been such a blessing. Yeah, oftentimes I'll just be going over to my siblings' houses and just hanging out with them and their little ones. There's 25 grandchildren,
Oh my God.
and it's been such a blessing.
So what's one thing that you feel like people assume about like being homeschooled or like being in a big family that isn't actually true?
Ooh, good question. Let me see here.
I would say one thing I noticed about you particularly is
Yeah.
a lot of people assume that you'll be socially awkward.
Yes, I
And
was just gonna say
okay, go
that.
ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people, as you said, they think you're gonna grow up socially awkward because you're not having that high school experience and going to school and meeting new people. But I feel like I really got such a good social experience, especially from you growing up and being able to travel the world, but also with siblings and being able to have that excellent relationship with my parents, my moms, and my siblings. Um, I feel like that really helped me like create a really good social environment. Um, so I mean, I don't think I'm socially awkward.
You're not. You're not at all. Yeah. That was one
Yeah.
thing I definitely noticed about you for sure. And so, all right, so let's dive into a little bit about your faith. So, just because you're in this amazing Christian family and you're homeschooled and, I'm sure your parents, pour into you and it's amazing, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that someone is going to have their own faith with the Lord. And so I would love to hear just like how would you describe your faith journey so far? And was it something that, because you were raised in this atmosphere, it was just like this really easy transition? Is it something you had to wrestle with to make your own? Like, I would just love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so growing up, we go through the show, and through the show, that my dad does, he would explain and show you how you can be saved. And I remember as a little girl just always praying because, we're praying. I think I was 6 years old when I went to my mom and I said, "How do I get saved?" And she said, "Well, like in the show, you got to ask Jesus into your heart and you have to really mean it." And so I asked him into my heart, and going out throughout life, you you continue living a good Christian life. But it wasn't until I want to say about a year and a half ago, I want to say my faith became like a lot stronger in the Lord, because it's easy to kind of piggyback your faith off your parents
Mhm.
after your parents have done this for so long, and you want to create your own relationship with Christ and not have it be your family's relationship with Christ.
Right.
And so I wanted to say, yeah, about a year ago, I really started to invest more time in the Lord. And I always got worried that I would never have any time for fun things, but God truly does give you joy. And he's brought so much happiness into my life. Like, I can't even believe the change. And I like look at my past self and I'm like, how could you be so stupid?
Yeah.
Thinking that it would bring you nothing but, like, I don't know, being bored,
Mm-hmm.
when it's just joy and light and happiness. So that's pretty much my journey so far. And every day it's amazing because I feel like I get to watch myself grow closer with the Lord. So, yeah.
Mm. Oh, I love that. And you really do like exude the joy of the Lord, especially like because you can tell it's your own. And so, one
Oh,
thing I have a question for you because a lot of people that are watching this are maybe homeschool parents or just parents.
mhm.
And so, what do you think that your parents did that helped you in your faith journey that you or like even your siblings like watching because you're not only like did you watch your parents and what they did with you but you also have this opportunity you get to watch your siblings and how they parent and I know you have such a heart for like wanting to be a mom so what is it that you feel like okay these are the key things that I feel like
Mhm.
are really important for parents to do if they want their kids to have their own faith.
Great question. Yeah, I would say one thing is understanding. I really felt like I was understood as a kid, and that I wasn't being just pushed aside as a young person's feelings. So I feel like being understood and growing with my parents. So not like my parents are looking down at me. I'm literally growing with them. And I feel like they had such a big impact in my life. And I know a lot of people, it's very unfortunate, a lot of people aren't as blessed as I am with such amazing parents. And that can be really rough, but I don't know. I just think they did such a great job. And I didn't, I really feel close to them and I respect them a lot. And I know that I have their respect as well. So I feel like respect is something that goes both ways,
Yeah.
which is really important to me. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So, as we like just mentioned too, like at 17, like a lot of girls are focused on their careers or their independence or
Yes.
finding themselves. But like,
Mhm.
when did you first realize and what is it that really felt you felt called to, being a wife and a mom?
Ooh, yes. So I always thought till around the age of 12, I always thought that I was going to grow up and become a hairstylist, actually, and figure out some way to work and have kids, send them off to daycare. And it kind of didn't really go along with like the way my family was built. And it wasn't like I was trying to be rebellious or whatsoever. It was
Right.
just that I felt like I wanted to do something and that maybe being a mom wasn't enough for me.
Mhm.
And I started reading in the Bible just how much it talks about the true roles of a woman and that it isn't just being a stay-at-home mom and stay-at-home wife is there's so many little things that you can do as a stay-at-home mom and stay-at-home wife, and seeing my sister-in-laws and my sister become the wives that they're like meant to be has just shown me so much of that's what I want to do. And I don't know, it's just been such a big impact in my life seeing them and being able to be around that, which has been super cool.
I love that. So you mentioned reading about what a woman is. What is biblical womanhood then? What does that mean to you, living it out as a calling? What does it look like in the day to day?
Ooh, yes. So in the Bible, it says that we are supposed to serve. And so day to day, if you have the Lord, I feel like there's a lot of joy that can be brought into this. But I feel that's just like taking care of your kids, being there, being their mom, and learning with them and teaching them the way that they're supposed to go in. And there's a really good verse. I don't know which one it is, but it says, "Teach a child in the way that they are supposed to be. That way, when they grow old, they will not fall from that path."
Yeah.
And I think that's so important is to be you want to be someone that they look at and they think I want to be that person, you know? You want to be that good influence. And I really think that just being a godly woman is and serving is the best influence you could give to your daughters and even a little bit to your sons.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful. And it's so true is, really living a life of service. I mean, and it can mean serving in all different ways, in all different capacities, even though you're a wife and mom, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's other wives, it's other moms, it's, connecting with other families and stuff as well. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So,
Mhm.
how do you discern God's voice versus like cultural, which I mean, I'm sure you're not exposed to as much as most girls your age, just because you're
Mhm.
not in high school, you're not going to school. But still, I'm sure you come across, situations because you're not like 100% sheltered. No one is, right? But
Yeah.
like, how do you discern like God's voice versus like the cultural pressures of, today's world?
Yeah. I would say it all goes back to the Bible. If you read your word every day, you can literally see right from wrong. And I mean, I pray that God gives you strong enough conviction to choose from wrong. But it's the more you read, to me, everything becomes so clear. It becomes so black and white. And it's like, I don't know. It's like sometimes it is harder to choose right because it might not seem like the better outcome.
Yeah.
But after you have picked it, you feel so much better about yourself. And like that's what God wants you to do is to feel better about yourself. And He wants you um, to feel joy and happiness. And He's always for you and not against you. So yeah, I think just going back to the word.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of one of those like choose your heart, it's not always easy to do the right thing, but it's also not easy to deal with the consequences of knowing you did the wrong thing, right?
Well
And that's
said.
not going to bring you joy. That's not going to bring you the fruits of the spirit. And the fruits of the spirit are worth it. So that is really good. All right. What do you feel like your parents modeled for you that you hope to be able to carry into your own future family?
Mm. One thing, my mom was never, she was always willing, this is just a super specific thing, but she was always willing to make food. This was one thing, is growing up, I would always, a lot of times my brothers or my siblings would ask me to make them food, and I didn't want to do it. But my mom seemed so happy and so willing to do it. And I always remember looking at her like, do you just really enjoy this? Or, and I was able to talk to her about it later on. And she just said that eventually, like at first it might bug you, but like if you do it with a happy heart and a happy attitude, it becomes, I know it's kind of confusing, but it becomes like more joyful in
Mm.
doing that. So I definitely want to bring joy into situations where it's really, really hard to be joyful in, and just hopefully that they reflect off that and see that it's really the better route to go and not complain about everything, you know?
Yeah,
But
that's so
yeah,
true.
yep. And one thing, mm, my dad is unbelievably generous.
Oh.
Unbelievably. I sometimes I'm still so shocked to this day. Because nothing he has is worth more to him than doing that deed
Mm.
of letting them use it or letting them have it. And I just one thing I really want to get better at, and hopefully, like you said, is have my children follow me after that and my husband. So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I love what you said about your mom too, about just she decided to have joy and do it with a happy heart, and then it
Mhm.
became joyful. It's that decision. It's making a decision that I'm going to be joyful. Sometimes I feel like people just they don't like doing certain things, and I that makes sense. I mean, we all have things we don't want to do, but if you
Mhm.
do it with a happy heart, then it can actually become something that brings you joy. So that is super sweet and such an incredible lesson to learn and to catch so young.
Mhm.
So that's very sweet. All right. What is something that you experienced in your homeschool journey, or like what's a memory that you have that you would like to recreate with your own kids?
Ooh. I think back to doing school, and it's just the pure joy being able to remember me, just me and my sister Tori and my brother Nate sitting on the couch with mom while she's teaching us school. And it's so simple, but it's such a special memory that I have. And there's so many of them that I get to treasure. And even in the times, there were a couple times when like you need to like move because you get like super focused, and you need to get focused and you need to like move. So mom would send us outside and run around the house like 3 times and then come back in, that way we could focus. And those are just the joys that like a lot of teachers don't understand, because maybe they're not their own kids, and there's such a special connection that a mother has with their children that makes homeschooling so special.
Mm. Oh, that's good. I like that. What about being a twin? So I have twin boys as well. So I'd love to
Yes.
hear what has your experience been at being a twin?
My experience from being a twin. Yes. Again, like I have mentioned from before, oftentimes it feels like sometimes it feels like you're in a little bit of competition, and a lot of people will ask you questions like who's better at this and who's better at this, and you just kind of you want to be the best, and like we're very competitive, but eventually it's like you see that you're in the fight together.
Yeah.
And so it's like you have a best friend for life, and there's so many things, like because my sister Tori and I have grown up and we've had the exact same thoughts on things. It's like you almost have your own separate language, but like you can just, what each other are thinking with just a look. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's truly, sometimes when I stop and I think about it, it's really cool because not everyone has that same relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's truly my best friend.
Oh, I love that. Are you guys identical? I never got to meet her.
Yes, we are.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Well, I'll have
Yeah.
to remember that. That's so
Yeah.
fun. So, do you guys have similar personalities or are you guys
Um,
opposites?
Sort of. We're very different once you get to know us. She's very bold, outgoing, and bubbly.
Mhm.
And then sometimes she's a little bit quieter and keeps to herself.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't really know my personality difference from that. I would say oftentimes is I'm not as bold as her, and I wish I was. She's so willing to go up to a random person and just strike up a conversation with them. And sometimes I'm not as outgoing as that, and I wish I was. But yeah, she's very passionate. So I don't know how to say, because
Yeah.
I'm speaking from my point of view, I don't know how to say how different our personalities are. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
But
that
I
makes
can
sense.
tell you what she's like for sure.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense. My boys are they are really opposite. Like really,
Yes.
really opposite, but they're not identical either. They don't even really look like they're twins, honestly. They don't even look like they're the same age right now. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. But I love how twins have this just like different outlook on life a little bit because you really are like growing up with your best friend by your side all the time, which is so
Yeah.
cool. So I think
Hmm.
that's really sweet. Okay, so what does it mean to you to live a kingdom first life? Because I feel like everything you've said, you really are very much like putting God first in everything that you do. But what does it look like and mean to you to live that even before like, obviously marriage and motherhood and all of that?
Yeah. Kingdom first. I really like the way you put that. I would say it is truly picking God over everything, over wanting to do something fun, and it's like maybe you're getting a strong conviction to go read your Bible. I really feel like it's going to read your Bible and not being afraid of his word, to be bold with not being afraid to say his name, scream it at the top of your lungs,
Yeah.
or just sharing your testimony with someone who's not as fortunate to have known his word. So just being God centered on your life is, I really think, being or having the kingdom first mentality for sure.
Yeah. So, do you have any like particular, I don't know, like memory or story from when you were traveling overseas or somewhere and sharing the gospel that like sticks out in your head of just like being, I don't know, like an important moment or time that God showed up or that you guys really felt like you made an impact?
Yeah, there's quite a few stories. So one of them is in I was recently on an airplane, and I was sitting next to this very sweet older lady, and we talked for probably about an hour, I want to say. And I was really trying to build a relationship with her first before sharing the word. Come to find out, she's a super strong Christian, and she's had an amazing life. And that really stuck out to me is because sometimes, and I'll tell you another story here, but sometimes even though, and if you ever go share the word with somebody, even though you might not even though you might not save them or have them ask Jesus into their heart, you might just be the next step.
Yeah.
Because then, if they keep getting somebody to come up to them and be like, hey, have you heard about Jesus? Then it might start them thinking. And so that was really a turning point for me in like thinking like it's okay if you get rejected because Jesus was rejected, and being a step to somebody's salvation is so important. And it's really cool because there was another time I was with my friend and we were about to go on the soccer field and play volleyball. and we saw this guy far off into the distance. He was playing soccer and just doing some reps and stuff. And we both looked at each other and we were like, should we go like preach the gospel to him? And so we started walking, and like the amount of adrenaline I got from it like made me so happy, because it's like even if he doesn't choose this path, we chose to try and go save him. And so we walked up to him, very nice guy. He had a very Scottish accent. He's from Scotland. And he was just there visiting, and he's been there for like 6 years. And he was Catholic. And so we asked him if we could pray for him, and he said, no, that's all right. But he said that it was really great to meet us, and we told him God bless. And it was just that choice that we looked at each other. It's another important thing, is to surround yourself with good people. But the choice that him and I made to go talk to the other guy was so important, and so like putting kingdom first. And it was a really cool experience for me to have, is to be able to just choose that without hesitating.
Gosh, that's so cool to be able to go and do that. And just to know that, yeah, sometimes you're the one that drops a seed, sometimes you're one that waters it, and sometimes you're the one that harvests, you know?
Mhm.
But we don't always get to see the harvest, and sometimes people get discouraged in that. But I think it's so important to continue, especially if you feel a nudge. You know,
Mhm.
the Lord will always lead you to different people that need to hear parts of your story, or need healing, or need prayer, where you can make an impact and be able to be that
Mhm.
voice and be the, you know, the hands and feet of Jesus in that moment. So I love that you guys did that, and that it's still a good memory for you, even though he said
Yeah.
no, which is weird. Even if he's Catholic, you would think he would let you pray for him.
I know. I know. That's what I thought. We asked him like twice, and he said that he was good, but it was still a great experience for me.
All right. All right. So when you picture, so just like talking about the future, like when you picture your future, like your home, your family, your faith, what do you hope that people will feel when they walk into like your life or your space or your home?
Mm, I hope they feel God, for sure.
Yeah.
I hope they feel warmth, like picturing my dream house and dream property is always just like feeling very cozy and just feeling very loved and light. And I just think it's so important to have God in your home, you know? And so, yeah, just warm, cozy, and full of light in Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, so sweet. All
Mhm.
right. Well, how can our listeners pray for you in this season?
Oh gosh. Yeah, so I recently interviewed for a job, and they did give it to someone else, and so I'm feeling quite at peace with it though, because I don't know if maybe God is trying to save me from something. Um and maybe he has a different plan for me, but probably just, future is feeling no doubts, and continuing to grow in my faith with Jesus, and yeah, just my future life. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a way that if anyone wants to like connect or hear more about your story, or, you know, follow along on your journey, how can they connect with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can go on my Facebook or my Instagram.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
I can
please
drop
do.
that in the show notes too, so people can
That
come
would be
follow along.
awesome. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, gosh, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story and just more about your faith. It's just been such a blessing to talk to you, and I am so excited to just watch you grow in your faith and hear like what God has for you, because I just know that you are going to make a big impact. I just can feel it. And so I just appreciate you and your heart, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you made me feel so special. Yeah, no,
Oh,
thank you for having me on here. It's crazy how this worked out. What a blessing. Yeah, just
absolutely.
shows you like what God's doing in our lives. So, so amazing. Great to meet you and great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Well, thank you so much. And if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, share it, and go follow Tessa in her journey. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.